You're listening to The Dangerous Mind of Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov. No excuses, no BS, no pants.
How you doing today? Welcome back to the Microphone Playboy podcast, and you're listening to the BCM 104, the Neumann Broadcast Condenser Microphone 104. You're listening to BCM 104 all weekend long, and I'm saying it like that because this is a radio mic. And you know what? It's got that great, tight radio broadcast sound. I love the BCM 104, and I'm really happy that it's finally getting its flowers from the world in general. That voiceover people, that content creators, that people who are really intent on getting a great sound have finally found the BCM 104. It's pretty exciting stuff because this is a great mic. So stick around, we're going to talk about it. And there's even going to be a song about it at the end of the show. I want you to stick around and listen to. So the BCM 104, this strange-looking, weird tin can-looking microphone with the tail on it and the built-in yoke, so you don't need a shock mount, which is pretty cool. But that's all that's really worth mentioning about it. It's not a technological marvel. It's a Neumann microphone that is very similar to one that I think that most of you know, and a lot of you have. And a lot of you have used. It is pretty much the same exact circuit inside, the same transformerless circuit as the TLM 103. And the TLM 103, in my opinion, has a much undeserved reputation as a U87 Junior, as a cheaper U87, as a U87 Lite. Well, I don't think so. They may have the same head basket contour. They may have very similar capsules, but not the same at all. But the TLM 103 suffers from a couple of issues when it comes to close-up voice work. And first of all, it wasn't designed for that. The BCM 104 was designed for close-up voice work. The capsule inside this thing, the K04 by Neumann, is specially tuned for the human voice. It's specially tuned to have a really tight low-end cutoff. And that's one thing that the TLM 103 suffers from, is that the low end has a pretty big presence, especially when you're up on top of it. The proximity effect on a TLM 103. It's intoxicating. I think we can all agree on that. The first time you put up a TLM 103 in front of you and you put those headphones on, my very first impression of my TLM 103, it was the first big boy mic that I ever bought. My first impression was like, oh my God, I sound like I'm 15 feet tall. That big bottom end it just gets in your mind. It hits all those dopamine receptors and you're like, oh my God, I've never sounded bigger. And the TLM 103 has a very clean capture through it. But it also has that peaky high end too. And that is because the TLM 103 was not designed, not intended for close-up voice work. Now, a lot of you are going to say, hey, wait a second. The 416 was not intended for close-up voice work, and yet it is brilliant for that. It's brilliant as a promo mic. Because when you get close up on a 416, you're adding extra distortion to the signal because it wasn't meant for that kind of voice work up close. And it does something amazing. It'll cut through everything. The TLM 103, though, has such an extremely clean circuit that even if you get up close to it, even if you start screaming into it, right? The dynamic range on that mic is insane. So you could almost put a jet engine up to it. I doubt you could, but you get the metaphor. It takes a loud signal and it still translates it very cleanly. That's the beautiful thing about the TLM 103. It's like, except for that peaky high end and that blooming low end, I think it sounds amazing. But it was not designed for close-up voice work. The reason it has that low-end bump and that high-end lift is because it was designed to spot mic orchestras from a distance. So that low-end emphasis, that high-end lift, is there to make up for the distance between the microphone and the instrument. So really, when you're using the TLM 103 up close, right, the only part of that signal that is really going to be effective is devoid of that low-end bloom. And it's really that high peaky, that really almost ear-piercing high-end is practically unusable. I mean, you have to treat the crap out of it. Some people have voices that sound great on it. And if you're doing like a whispery ASMR stuff, maybe it's great for that too. But I don't do that. I do real voiceover. I'm sorry. Not to denigrate you ASMRers. 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 Whatever you call yourselves, hey, go with it. But the BCM 104 remedies all of that because of its tuning, its EQ. And it has the same transformerless circuit, so it has the same really low self-noise, 7 dB of low self-noise. That's like really great, okay? I know that people are like, well, this mic has 4 and this one has 6. Anything below 10 is extremely good. Really, anything below 12 is great. It's got an extremely articulate circuit. And it is enhanced with this capsule, the K04 by Neumann. Was designed for close-up voice work. And yes, it has a really nice high-end smoothness to it. There is no EQ on this. There's no EQ on this. The only thing on here is like really, again, my 1.5 to 1 compression on it. And that's just to take a little bit of the bite off it when I go like really, when my amplitude changes. Just take a little kiss off the top. That's all you need because you want it to remain natural. And the BCM 104 does sound really natural, but it also sounds enhanced because it's got that Neumann richness right through the mid-range. And so it has this really tight low end, right? I mean, really, the low end in the circuit is designed to basically cut off any subsonic frequencies below 20. And the TLM 103, I think, actually goes down to 10. But the BCM 104 has kind of a cutoff, so you're not hearing that. That's why you don't hear that low-end resonance here. But also the capsule is tuned, I think, in a way where you're getting almost like where it really kind of seems to have that tight low-end turn, really. It feels like maybe it's about 50 or so. It's nice. I mean, there is a nice tight sound to this mic because the low end is not too big. The low end is just tuned perfectly for broadcast. The high end is nice and smooth. So what you get is this emphasis on the mid-range. And what's really cool about this is that the BCM 104, right, is pretty flat throughout the entire frequency range from, really in the meat of your frequency range where your voice matters. Okay? So between 500 and like 5K, it's pretty flat. Actually, no, it's not. It's like about 4K. It starts to have a little bit of a lift to it. And this is the cool thing. There's a tiny lift there because there's a notch at 6. There's a notch right at the point where the highs and the upper mids. So the low end of the highs and the upper end of the mids kind of meet around 6K. That's kind of the DMZ right there. And again, a lot of microphones will have because of the head basket acoustics, circular head basket acoustics will generally give you a little bit of a notch around 6. And that notch around 6 is great because it helps define a difference, like a point between where the highs kind of go off and where the mids are. So it reigns in the mids. So it gives the mids like a little bit of a pop. So even though it's not an aggressive mid-range mic like the U87, it still has a mid-range little bump to it. And that's because the tuning of the rest of the sonics in the capsule are done in a way to sound smooth so that the mid-range and the richness of the sound in the mid-range, it has that Neumann rich mid-range. And yet it doesn't have a mid-range pop, but it still has mid-range energy, which is why this mic cuts through a bed like crazy. I don't want to call it reined-in frequency response on here, but the smooth high end and the smooth tight low end are designed for broadcast because broadcast has really kind of a lesser dynamic range. than music does. Because of, well, really with broadcast, right? You're dealing with broadcast of a commercial. You're dealing with a lot of compression up and down the line for broadcast, for a commercial, for a TV show. You have to rein in that low end because a lot of people, their equipment at home, your television speaker. And this goes back to the golden age of TV when you used to have a big giant square TV sitting in a console somewhere and the thing ran off a big giant CRT tube, not today's flat screen TVs. But the older TVs had very rudimentary, not so great speakers in them that would not be able to handle sub-bass. Okay? Some of the newer TVs, they have the way they make the audio filter through. They do a little thing with the low end to keep it from like vibrating the speaker, right? It's kind of controlled. But the BCM 104 gives you all of that plug and play broadcast sound. Boom, right there. And again, no EQ, tiny bit of compression, and that's it. That's all you're hearing. There's going to be no de-essing on this. So why should you get a BCM 104, right? Why should you get one? It just has an amazing sound. But unlike other microphones in this kind of price point, it's at a weird price point. It's like $1,200 new-ish, right? Isn't it about that? But you can usually find them used for about $700-ish, $700-800. But this sound, right? It just captures everything so cleanly. It's so much articulation. Really fast transients. It is really just a beautiful microphone on spoken word stuff. It really reacts. It's meant to be spoken into really close. It even has a little pop filter screen behind the grill. If you open up the grill, and they make it so you can twist off the top of the grill, so that probably you can clean the spit off of the pop filter. But there's a little screen. It looks like a little like pool fence kind of thing around the capsule to protect it from plosives. But I'm going to show you why this mic is so great. Because with no EQ, this thing cuts through a music bed. Here, I have some AI generated instrumental stuff. Because I have some news I want to tell you. I have something I want to tell you. So here, let's just fire something up here. I don't even know what I got here. Oh, okay, here we go. Listen to that. Okay, now there's a lot of guitar stuff going on, like really kind of overlapping the frequency range in which I speak. So let's do this. I'm going to show you over an aggressive music bed how this thing sounds. So I don't know if you are aware or not, but Sweetwater just sent out an email, a dispatch. They are letting all their customers know that if you use the Sweetwater credit card, are you a user of the Sweetwater credit card? Because if you are, you're going to want to check this out. This is some bullshit coming on, okay? If you are a user of the Sweetwater credit card, you will now be charged an additional 2% transaction fee on top of your purchase. Let me let that sink in for a moment. There's a 2% added tax to your purchase now if you use the Sweetwater credit card. And the reason for that is because the company that issues the Sweetwater credit card, Synchrony, and Synchrony issues a lot of store-owned credit cards, store-run credit cards, store-branded credit cards. So the Synchrony Corporation, they decided that on all store credit cards, there will be an additional 2% fee added to your purchase at the time of purchase. Now, of course, that 2% fee will be rolled into what you owe, so you pay it off over time. So if you buy a $1,000 microphone, right? Whatever your sales tax is, you pay on top of it. Here in Los Angeles, we pay about 10% in sales tax. And then they roll on an additional 2%. And while 2% of $1,000 is only $20, okay? And if you finance that over 36 months or 48, oh, the music bed ended. Hold on. Here's another one. So if you finance that over your 24 months, your 36 months, your 48 months, it ends up only being, over 24 months, it ends up being what, like 85 cents added to each payment. But that is not the point. The point is why they're doing it is bullshit. The reason they're doing it is because not enough people are paying their late fees on their Synchrony credit cards. All right? So people are buying stuff on their credit cards and not able to pay it off, not paying their late fees, not paying their payments on time. So, because of these deadbeats, the rest of us have to suffer and pay an extra 2% on top of our purchases. Now, I don't know about you, but that annoys the crap out of me. Because I didn't do anything. I use a Sweetwater credit card. I've used it. Mine's paid off. But when I bought stuff before, you buy it, you pay it off over time, because they give you an interest-free loan, basically, to buy stuff if you pay it off over time. So, if you pay it off as you're supposed to, you pay your installments, or you pay it off early, right? You don't pay any additional fee on top of that for the pleasure of having to borrow this money. You don't get tagged on that. And that's pretty cool because that's the way businesses do business. You get a line of credit and you use that line of credit to expand your business. Okay? That's a time-honored way of doing business. As a matter of fact, let's say you had $5,000 you wanted to spend at Sweetwater to build up your studio. Okay? Let's say you needed some mics, let's say you needed some monitors, let's say you needed an interface, preamp, whatever. Okay, let's just say $5,000. You spend that $5,000, okay, at Sweetwater, and that's $5,000 plus your sales tax, plus 2%, that's $100 extra, okay? You pay that off over time. However, right, if you had that $5,000 and you paid it in cash, right, you don't pay that 2% fee. But here's the thing. What sucks about it is now, if I wanted to do that, if I wanted to take the $5,000, if I had $5,000 set aside or $1,000 set aside for this thing, and I'm paying it off over time, but I'm putting that $1,000 in a money market account or somewhere where that money is making money. I'm putting that money to work, making my payments, but at the end, because of compound interest, the beauty of compound interest means that I'll still end up with a little bit more money at the end. Right? But now Sweetwater decided, oh no, we want to tack on an extra 2% for all you using your cards. Now, I get it. I get that there's certain situations that come up, circumstances where people buy stuff and things change in your life and you can't pay for it. Okay, that happens. But I think a lot of what's going on here are deadbeats who can't pay their bills. And the rest of us are suffering for it, and that sucks. I mean, I have sympathy for people who get into situations, financial situations that turn your life upside down. Oh, I've been there. I have been there. And it sucks. But I believe that most of the problem here are deadbeats. And that annoys me, that we are being punished. We who follow the rules and do it as we're supposed to. We don't get. We should get, if you have made every single payment on your Synchrony Sweetwater credit card on time, right? If your history is that you've never missed a late payment, you should not be hit with that 2% fee. You should be immune from this greed that Synchrony has perpetrated upon us. What do you think? What do you think of Synchrony's absolute corporate greed in charging us an extra 2%? All right, there was me talking over that music bed, giving you this story, really just ranting about how annoyed I am. Because I'm not going to use my Sweetwater credit card anymore. I'm not. I'm going to cancel that and, be done with it. Because, that's bullshit. I mean, maybe I'll need it someday and I'll be like, oh, I wish I had it. But you know what? I have to, just on general principle, I have to basically say, no. I'm not paying your 2% fee. So why do you buy a BCM 104? First of all, it's a really affordable. It's probably the best sounding affordable Neumann, especially for voiceover, especially for close-up voice work, especially for content work. You heard how it cuts through a bed, and there's no EQ on it. And the reason it sounds so good is this amazing capsule, this proprietary capsule that is specially designed for voice work. Going through this super clean, transient friendly, very quiet circuit. And again, you can never go wrong buying great tools for your work. Don't try to do professional work with amateur gear, because it will get you nowhere near where you want to be and what you hold so dear. Did not mean for that to be a poem, and that poem sucked. So I apologize for that. But I don't apologize for the BCM 104 Broadcast Condenser Microphone 104. And you know what else? It does. I think it sounds much better than a 103. Right? I mean, boom. That's it. But what do you think? Do you like the BCM 104? I'm so glad that people are recognizing this mic now. And I'm so glad that Neumann is recognizing that it's being recognized finally. This mic has been out for like 20 years, and it languished in the background. And finally, content creators are noticing it, and Neumann, they've come out with a matte black version of it. They've relaunched it with a matte black version, which tells me that they are aware that people are putting this mic on camera. Well, not me today, but, content creators, people who do stuff, it's appearing on camera. Somebody said, I want a black one. And they were like, oh, that's a great idea. Maybe we should pay attention to this microphone that people really like now. So thank you, Neumann. And I want to know what your opinion is of the BCM 104. Do you have one? And what do you think of it? Do you want one? What do you think of it? All right, let me know. And stick around for the BCM 104 song, okay? Stick around for the BCM 104 song. That's all I ask. All right, until next time, this is Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov, fading to black.
In the world of sound, there's a gem that's been overlooked. And with the BCM 104, let's get it off the hook. Broadcast condenser mic, oh, it's quite a sight. With a voice so clear, it brings words to life. The voiceover stars, the spoken word to right. Oh, 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 oh. Content creators, new favorite shine so bright. Now in sleek black, oh, what a vibe. Oh, 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 oh. This mic's got it all. It's time to arrive. BCM 104, the forgotten gem. Bring your voices to the front, let's sing its hymn. Oh, 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 oh. With a built-in pop filter and shot not so tight. Attach it to your stand, you'll sound just right. Oh, 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 oh. Cardioid pattern, capturing sound so true. A frequency range from 20 Hz to 20 kHz just for you. With a max SPL of 33 dB. Every whisper, every shout comes through cleanly. For podcasts, for streams, for every word you say. Oh, 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 oh. The BCM 104 will blow you away. Now it's sleek black, it's stylish and grand. Oh, 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 oh. A must-have tool, it's best in the land. BCM 104, the forgotten gem. Bring your voices to the front, let's sing its hymn. Oh, 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 oh. With a built-in pop filter and shot not so tight. Attach it to your stand, you'll sound just right. Oh, 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 oh. A Neumann classic, yet so fresh and new. With its sonic precision, there's nothing it can't do. For every creator, it's stylish and grand. Oh, 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 a must-have tool, it's best in the land. A Neumann classic, yet so fresh and new. With its sonic precision, there's nothing it can't do. For every creator, it's the mic to choose. In black or in silver, there's no way to lose. BCM 104, the forgotten gem. Bring your voices to the